And hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. Well, today I have the pleasure of having Emma Palzere-rae, an Associate Director of Artreach Inc., and an independent theater artist. And I wanted to get that all correct before we introduce her to you. And Emma, thanks so much for being here. Such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
You know, Emma, what I like to do when I start the show is to introduce the guest to the viewer. So why don't we take a moment and talk about you and your background. Tell us about yourself.
I am a theater artist, currently based in New London, Connecticut. I'm fortunate that my day job is doing theater and nonprofit administration with an organization called Artreach, located in Norwich, Connecticut. Artreach serves all of southeastern Connecticut and beyond with programs for adults living with mental illnesses. We provide music, theater, creative writing, visual arts, basically any art form as a way for self-care and sustaining recovery. And I am also an independent actor, playwright, director, producer. My company is called Be Well Productions. So you see there's a little bit of a thread about the healing power of the arts. And I primarily produce one-woman shows. And I'm largely interested in women in history who we haven't been taught about, or maybe haven't been taught their full story, or have a kind of stereotypical idea of who they might be. So my solo plays have included Emily Dickinson, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Victoria Woodhull, who was the first woman to run for president in 1872. And I'm currently developing a one-woman show on Julia Margaret Cameron, who was one of the first photographers in the mid-1800s, but was greatly criticized by the male art establishment.
Did you know growing up that you wanted to be a performing artist? I mean, one-woman shows and being involved in Artreach and so on and so forth is now. Did you have a desire when you were young to perform?
I did. I mean, it started with ballet. I wouldn't be quiet until my mother signed me up for ballet lessons. But at the ballet school I attended, I was really fortunate that the woman who ran the school, her name was Sue Marantz, really did ballet stories. We weren't the type of school where there was a recital and your class came out and did a dance and exited. She would always choreograph a full ballet, based on a fairy tale or a classic story. And so I often was put into character roles. The rest of my class was a school of fish, and I played King Neptune. So I really feel that she put me on a path for, becoming a character actor. And, it's funny how memories pop back at you, but in elementary school, I would adapt books I liked, such as Amelia Bedelia, into a one-woman show, and I loved to make all the props. And then my teacher said, okay, if you want, instead of going to recess today, go perform for the special needs class. So I guess I actually have been doing this my whole life virtually.
Now, you're mentioning one-woman shows. Did you decide, it sounds as if at a young age that this is something you wanted to pursue?
Well, I pursued acting. I went to Emerson College in Boston and got a degree in acting, and then moved to New York. I really wanted to do Lort theater. And, I had some jobs, all lined up in a row. And then when I came to my first kind of down period, and I thought, oh, how am I going to get through this? A friend of mine said, why don't you produce The Belle of Amherst? And I loved the play, and I read it, loved it. And I thought, I could do this. This will keep me busy for a couple months. Not realizing it would set me on a whole new path. And while living in New York, it was really empowering to be able to have some control over my artistic life. I still auditioned, did film work, took theater jobs when they came along. But the truth was, there weren't a lot of roles available for an actress like myself. So solo work became a way to write rich, meaningful stories where I could, enjoy playing the same character for long period of time, for years, and what that does to your character development is really a wonderful thing. So I kind of started doing it professionally, solo work, as a way to keep busy and stretch my acting muscles, but it became an incredible way to keep working and have some control over my life as a theater artist. I'll add that I got to a point where I thought, well, my friends have all seen my shows. How am I going to get an audience? And I started a one-woman show festival that we did in Tribeca for 10 years, where I, invited other solo performers. We had as many as 35 performers in the month of March to celebrate Women's History Month. Not all historical characters, like any kind of performance, as long as it was a woman alone on stage. And we really created a strong, supportive network of performers trying to further our own careers. So.
You're mentioning a path of education, of moving to New York City, of solo work. What about to the actor that is listening to us right now that would like to pursue your path? Do you think that what you did to get to where you are today really solidified where you are today? Would you recommend the same path to them?
I think first you really have to have a passion for it, especially solo work. If you're choosing a character, you're going to live and breathe that character. So really find somebody that you're passionate enough about to, live with them for a long time and want to keep exploring and learning and developing their character. Or even if it's a personal story that you're creating for solo work, make sure it's something that you can stick with for the long term and bring that fire and passion to it. And you also have to be your own promoter and your own producer. So if those things scare you in a bad way, some scary is good because it gets you motivated. But you have to be able to tackle those things. And I'm in rehearsal right now, and it's, I have great sympathy. I always pull a team of people. For me, doing solo work, I'll also say, is not about working alone. And when I first did my first solo show, I thought, oh, I'm such an independent person. Maybe this is bad because, I don't want to do this all myself. But you get to build a team for yourself that supports you, that you can trust. They're giving you good feedback, that they're making you look your best. But, when you're in rehearsal, I'm sometimes the producer in rehearsal, I'm sometimes the performer in rehearsal, and I'm sometimes the playwright in rehearsal. So I don't envy my team kind of wondering, wait a minute, is she saying this comment as a producer, or is she saying this comment as a director, or as a playwright? So sometimes I'll preface that. I want to say, I have to say this from the writing perspective, or I'll have to say this as a producer. But I think it's a very valuable form of theater to step into. And, I think we're still seeing a lot of shows that aren't being able to fulfill their performance runs because casts are getting sick and testing positive for COVID. So I'm also wondering, smaller cast shows, that's less of a worry. And so this might be a good time to venture into, a 1 or 2 person show.
You mentioned COVID. Good thing to ask you about, which penetrated the arts and entertainment industry, and most of my guests have talked about it. Did it impact your world going through it?
Well, yeah, 2020 was the centennial of the passing of the 19th Amendment, and my show, The Woodhull Project, about the first woman who ran for president, Victoria Woodhull. I had a booking every month that, was all shut. The last one I did was the first week of March. So yes, I lost, that was going to be like a very good year that I lost income. But the state of Connecticut and our local arts council put together grants for COVID response, and I just jumped into the virtual world and was very interested in, again, solo plays adapt to the small box that we're in right now. Not easily, that's not the right word, but it's because you have different challenges than if you're doing a multi-character play on Zoom with a solo play, but you do have to do something to make it visually interesting. If it's just your head on the screen the entire time, that's going to be a challenge for viewers if it's longer than 5 or 10 minutes. But I pulled together a team who was interested in exploring this virtual medium, a director and a kind of production stage manager who did a lot of the tech and visual stuff. And we had some grant money to explore and, play around with how we'd present the work. And so I was able to do a virtual production of Victoria Woodhull for September 2020, so a virtual celebration of the passing of the 19th Amendment. And then in Women's History Month, March 2021, I had another grant, so converted Harriet Beecher Stowe to a virtual production and presented them both for Women's History Month. So I've also found having these recorded representations of the shows, I've been able to rebroadcast them for various groups, and it's a lot easier than getting dressed up, driving somewhere, setting up your stage, getting dressed, and then performing. So it's been fascinating. The Hartford Fringe Festival, where I did Victoria Woodhull, their inaugural year, 2019, had a show drop out, and they said, "Can you do anything?" And I said, "Well, I could show this. We could do the Woodhull Project again virtually." I said, "I'm not able to come and perform it in person." And so we did. We played the video and we did a live talk back, and it worked. It's not live theater, but it worked on some level. And the show was very much about go out and vote. Because Victoria Woodhull did not have the right to vote in 1872 or throughout her lifetime. So I think I'm going to rebroadcast it, I think on November 7th. November 6th or 7th, I might just, pop it on, turn it on my Be Well Productions Facebook page, and hopefully motivate some people to go out and vote.
Okay, let's hold that thought. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You are tuned in to Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Inflation isn't just hitting your pocketbook. Businesses are tacking on new fees to survive. Be wary of low advertised prices. More businesses are implementing drip pricing, where additional fees are added as you move through the buying process. Don't be afraid to take your business elsewhere. If you think the fees are too high, keep shopping around. Comparison shop with fees in mind and make a complaint. Consumer Reports found that 64% of consumers who complained about a hidden or unexpected fee successfully had it taken off their bill. Budget for fees. In most cases, hidden costs are not illegal, which means there are some hidden fees you might be obligated to pay. But watch out for cramming, the illegal act of adding unauthorized service charges without your knowledge or approval. Take a few minutes to review your statements each month and check for new or unexpected fees. If you find a hidden fee, take it up with the company. They may be willing to reduce or remove the fee in some cases. And even if they don't, you still want to know what you're paying for and how much you can expect to pay monthly. For more tips, visit bbb.org.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. Hope you're enjoying the show. Emma, why don't we take a moment and talk about Artreach? I spent the morning going through the website, and there's a tremendous amount of information there, and what you folks are doing is outstanding. So why don't you tell us what it's all about?
Yeah, Artreach was founded in 1985, primarily with a sketch comedy troupe called Second Step Players, to address mental illness and mental well-being through sketch comedy. And they became very popular, toured throughout the country. exist as a mainstay of Artreach programs today. But we've greatly expanded over the years the arts programming that we provide. We have music programs. November 11th and 12th, Artreach is having its first live performance event since COVID. Our Music Heals Coffee House will be at the Chestnut Street Playhouse, November 11 and 12. We also have a jazz band and one-on-one music lessons. We do a monthly program called Music Moments, which we've developed during the pandemic. It's kind of a music appreciation, music history, but we've also decided each month to highlight a diverse group. We kind of started by doing Pride Month or Black History Month, but now we've taken that through every month and focusing on musicians through the time that have been underrepresented, and that's been a great program. So we were doing that for members. Now we've kind of invited the public to attend those because we said these are great and informative. We have a robust visual arts program. Our teaching artist, Faith Satterfield, will try different mediums for a while. Another thing we've been able to really sustain through COVID, we've had virtual. We brought our art programs virtual. And delivered art materials to our program members, but we could put art exhibits up. So we have art at the New London Public Library. We do various shows throughout the year at Otis Library in Norwich. We've exhibited, we were the first exhibit at Groton New London Airport after, during COVID. So we have lots of opportunities to get our artwork out there. We did the Rose City Arts Festival this year, and when we display our members' artwork, it's important to us that the art sales go to the members. So it also creates some income for members if they sell some of their artwork, whether it's painting, colored pencils, pen and ink. We do all the different kinds of forms, and it's valuing their skill that they've developed through the programs. Creative writing, we do poetry groups, and then we also do, and theater. So sometimes we'll do theater classes or a specific focus. We did a sketch comedy show virtually that we presented January 2021, and again, we've been able to rebroadcast that. And we presented it in person at some libraries, and it was awesome to be in an audience and hear people laugh at the videos of the sketches. So, but all our programs, when we then present the work that our program members and community members do to the public, it's also an opportunity to raise awareness about mental health and to bust the stigma of mental illness. We are historically largely funded through the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, DEMAS, through the state. And so our program members have come through referrals from other DEMAS providers. With COVID funding from the State Arts Agency and other arts funding, we've been able to expand that. We can serve people who, many people fall through the gap, right? They're not low income enough to receive services through the state or high income enough to get mental health services, out of pocket, to pay for it out of pocket. But as we know, a lot of people have struggled with their mental well-being over the last couple of years. And, we've been able to open our doors and say, hey, join us and participate in a creative practice and, for your mental health and just come and join us. It's a very supportive, non-judgmental environment to just create, and what that does for your sense of self and your own well-being, being able to express yourself, as well as, even if it's virtual, being in a community. Being in a community of people who are creating together is really special. And our members and participants have said, this has really gotten me through the last couple of years without, I would have been in the hospital, I would have had high anxiety, but knowing I could attend an Artreach, I could log on to my computer. And by the way, we were able to get a donation of laptops in March 2020 that we set up and distributed to members, many of whom did not have adequate tech to participate in virtual programs. So we were able to take care of that and coach people over the phone how to go online. And everyone's been so grateful to have this avenue to stay connected with their friends they know, to be in a community, sometimes with new people, and to just know I can log on to at 2:00 I have this, at 4:00 tomorrow I can go to this program. And that has provided structure, community, and just a sense of well-being for our program members. So we're really pleased that we've been able to do so much during COVID, especially.
It sounds so wonderful and so needed. That community needs so much help, and I'm so thrilled that you folks exist and are doing so many things. I mean, the calendar is just full of opportunity and activities. It's just amazing.
And we are a staff of 4 with a few
oh my goodness,
contractors. Yes. So it's a wonderful culture that we have. Each of our staff members are artists, and we each have different arts disciplines. Some of us overlap, but we also have administrative responsibilities. So it works that the 4 of us really complement each other and get the work done. But sometimes we do look at that calendar and say, "Oh man, how are we doing all this? No wonder we're tired."
What I don't want to forget are organizations, and Lauren Yarger, who I respect tremendously, and the League of Professional Theater Women, who've been on 2 or 3 times now, recommended that you be a fabulous guest on my program. So I'm truly honored that you've taken time out to be here. Your advice to the performing artist, et cetera, of what we've covered so far, do you think that getting involved with an organization might be a good idea to network and to be able to expand your opportunity for even employment?
Absolutely. I've always been a big advocate of, when you're a theater artist, if you're an actor and you're going from town to town, right? You've got a job, you're moving here, you're moving there. I developed a skill of scope out what the resources are, right? Find out what organization is here. And, the League of Professional Theater Women, we have a Connecticut chapter. I'm also active with the Dramatists Guild, and am a community representative for them. And, I end up doing that a lot, bringing community together. And it's so valuable. You never know who you're going to meet. I had a professor in college who drilled into us, you never know where somebody's going to be in a couple of years. Remember everybody you meet. So in order to do that, you got to get out there and meet people. It hasn't been easy the last couple of years, but now that things are starting to come together, find those groups, your affinity groups, and there's plenty, in theater, but, sometimes that's a chamber of commerce. Maybe it's volunteering. I'm active with Mystic Film Festival. I've met some great people volunteering there, and the arts alliances, and arts councils, get involved, my friends tease me because I get so many e-newsletters, but that's how I know what's going on and where there's opportunities for me to grow professionally, if there's professional development, especially about the business side, an organizational side of being an artist. Like Connecticut Office of the Arts has, seminars, workshops sometimes in person now, sometimes virtually. I'm always growing and meeting new people, and it hasn't been easy these last couple of years, but now you got to figure out how to get dressed and get out of the house and travel and all that, and still be able to, to do these things, right? It's a little more complicated than just hopping on your computer, but look for those organizations, and certainly the League of Professional Theater Women. We'd love to see our women in theater in Connecticut come and join us.
We are starting to run out of time. Your calendar. You have things coming up. We're at the end of 2022. How about 2023? Anything coming up that you'd like to share?
I will, let me see. Well, Artreach, we do have our music program November 11 and 12. We are currently starting at Artreach. We've broadened our Theater for Social Change. So we are in December devising a theater piece on racial disparity in mental health care and healthcare. So we're doing a residency to get the kind of first draft of that together in December. So look for that in 2023. That will be further developed to create community conversations around how we improve access to the mental health care system, especially for Black and Brown people. And we're partnering with Emergent Theatre Project in New London to work on that. So that's just been really exciting. And beyond that, we haven't put any calendar dates on anything, but we'll have some other theater. We always do events, particularly at the local libraries for Mental Health Awareness Month, which is May. So look for art, music, theater, all kinds of things happening.
Okay, great. Well, it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks so much for taking time to be with us today.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. I appreciate it.
And you've been tuned in at Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. And in case you want to volunteer, I really need you. If you'd like to do that, please be in touch with me. I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Hope you have a super day. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time.